Zion.
Hey, yo, Ren, turn that up.
Only a few of us gon' make it out. Zion. Only a remnant. 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 When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We Jacob, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only a remnant. 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 When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We Jacob, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only a remnant. We at the end and we feeling it. We the same at the sea, but a remnant. Shall return to the word when they hearing it. We the sons of Israel. Our word will never fail. Baptizing in Jacob's well. Holy Spirit ain't playing for real. Will you get
My bad. I have been talking and haven't had my mic on. I appreciate sister for giving me a call. I pulled a terrible thing that the IT guy shouldn't do. I had my stuff up here and I forgot to unmute myself. I apologize, y'all. I truly apologize. I apologize. So again, I'm gonna thank y'all again for coming out today. This is my author debut, or however you want to put the suffix on it. As I was saying earlier, the Africans, they put like hilarious suffixes on their words. You know, I'll say my authorific or authorilytic. When you see a lot of the Instagram video reels of them talking about the African elders, the suffixes that they throw on words are absolutely crazy. So this is that reveal that I'm doing. We're demystifying spiritual warfare, and this book one here is going to be free. It's a free book, Demystifying Spiritual Warfare. What is a soul? And it's the thing that we talk about a lot. We talk about soul ties, soul food, and Yah save my soul. We all say these things, but as a lot of things that come in through religion, these are things that we just say and have an implied understanding. But a lot of times we don't really dig in and do a deep dive as to what these things really are and what it is. And those that saw my last live where I kind of went in, talking about the Lord's Day, and this book, it didn't start. It's really what started me on my journey here of now basically looking at the King James Version and being like, nah, y'all tripping. You know what I'm saying? When I look at these translations, I look at all these different things that they be writing down that they have, and I can definitely say that these translations are trash. These translations are bad, and they come from a horrible, horrible point because these I'll be nice. I'll say these men, they have integrated so much paganism into the Bible. It's just ridiculous that even in some of the definitions that you find in the Strongs, and even in some of the words in the translation of the word that you read, it's bad. I mean, those that were there for the last video, if you didn't see it, it's on the live. We talked about my interview with ChatGPT and how basically I challenged it on the Lord's Day or the proper Shabbat. And in the so-called New Testament, everywhere it said Shabbat, they go through these big hoops to jump through, and they translate it as the first day of the week. And it's like, but it says Sabbaton. And if we understand the Shabbat from the Old Testament, where it talks about how it followed moon phases, and the Shabbat was the seventh day, Sunday, the day that they named after the sun, but that's a whole nother conversation. That's the first day of the week. How was that the day that the Lord had? He said this day was set up as forever. So who are you to come in and change it? And that's what we're finding with a lot of things, that as you start digging deeper into the theology of Christianity that we've all been handed, because almost all of us, we grew up in church. We all had a desire for the Creator. And we once called the Creator, God, and just the only name we knew. And we once called the Messiah Jesus. I don't knock people that still do that, because, hey, I at one point in time called upon the Savior that way as well. But when you know better, you do better. So now I just say Yahushua. But these things came in because doctrine of men started getting spoon-fed into the religion. The Bible is not a religious book. The Bible is a book of culture. The Bible is a storybook. It tells you the history of a people, the Hebrew people. And it also tells you the relationship between this Hebrew people and the Creator that they serve and they worship as their first people, the first people of mankind, the kingdom of priests. And it talks about that relationship, the kings that they had, the judges, the heights and the falls of everything that they went through, with prophecy intertwined in there, and all of these great tapestries of just wisdom and information. And you just had, the Messiah said it himself when he talked about how he planted a vineyard and somebody came in and started putting tares in with his wheat. These things are a part of those tares that they got added in that just leads us off and leads us away. So the whole goal of this one here is just to talk about the soul. One of the basic things that, this isn't some, like journey down some remarkable wisdom. This is wisdom that we have. This is wisdom that we had. This is stuff that was known, not just amongst Hebrews, but even amongst all the nations before. This was a thing that mankind understood at one point. And this was knowledge that was taken from us in order to have control. This is another reason why the Most High say, professing yourself to be wise, you became fools, because they taught us in this new paradigm of nonsense that we're the most educated, we got all this together, we're this and we're that. But a lot of this stuff came from nonsense. And I'm going to kind of cover just a little brief topic from coming out of the book, and mainly in the one thing where we're talking about the church fathers, where I come in and attack religion. And I'm going to show you what, just on this little snippet of where nonsense came in, not just in the understanding of the soul, but just in Christianity as a whole. So we're going to talk about this dude called Augustine of Hippo. You see him there with his little mitre fish hat on. You see fish hat when you look up the Babylonian and what's the other Sumerians, and you see the old priests and the guys wearing the fish outfits and stuff like that. This is literally in line with that right there. That thing on his head is called a mitre, and it's got a splitting and opening like a fish's mouth. And all this stuff comes from paganism. And these were the guys that are the father of the modern Christian religion. A lot of Christians like to say, "Oh, well, these guys just started Catholicism." No matter how much your boy put a thesis on there. Martin Luther put his thesis, on the door. We started all that stuff, but all he did was just create another subcategory. It's just like now how you have the Protestants and the Baptists and Southern Baptists and Armenian and Calvinism, which is calling yourself after another man is crazy. Same thing with Arminianism. Like all this stuff is just these doctrines of man, when the Messiah himself didn't say he was in it. You won't find the word Christian in the Hebrew, the translation. You won't even find the word Christian really even in the Greek translation. It's really called the gathering, and when the word for the church that they call church now actually was gathering, assembly. that people were assembling in their houses. They would assemble in the streets. They would assemble in different places. They didn't just come to a building and call it the church. Matter of fact, it wasn't even called a church. But people that followed the Messiah didn't go to a church. Church, when you break that word down, I'm gonna do another live later on in this week about the church on Thursday. Thursdays is gonna kind of be days where I might go live if I do go live on the week, and I'm gonna definitely do it more often. And I'm gonna do a little dive in on this word church and give you examples on how they take words and try to twist words and change things. See, don't let nobody fool you. Words matter. Even though we use them so flippantly now, like, even when, dudes get together and we like trash other dudes and we'll like, oh, you stupid. Oh, you idiot. Oh, what's up? Like, no, words matter. Oh, that's my dog. Oh, my dog. What up, dog? Oh, this is like, dude, words mattered. When you called a man a dog once upon a time, that was fighting words. Dudes was ready to throw hands. You know what I mean? And then now we just call each other dogs like it ain't nothing. But then you wonder why you always see black dudes running around with these little fat, just crazy looking white women, because a dog will get with anything. The dudes have such a low self-esteem and basically just be willing to go and have sex with anything coming because a dog don't care. If a dog is in heat, you throw a pillow down, that dog gonna hump the pillow. You throw down anything, that dog gonna go get with it. He don't care. Yeah, whatever it is, as long as it's something to satisfy his urge, he gonna do it. And then men have calling themselves dogs for so long, it's any wonder why this is the same thing that we find amongst ourselves. And then when you try to call a dude out about it, they're gonna be mad at you, like, oh, that's because you don't get none, or you don't do this and this and this. It's like, bro, wait, this is like a little off topic, but I'm just gonna drop it. Like, when did having sex become the apex of a man? What statues have been erected for a man that say, yo, this is Saint Pookie of Lexington, and Pookie was a pimp and a player, and Pookie had them chicks sled left and right. Well, nobody ever remembers that. You get remembered by your little colleagues and stuff, but after all your people die out, nobody knows. Nobody cares, bro. Like, what you do for the culture, what you do for the people, what you do for the future is what matters as a man. And we got to start getting our identity from Yah and not from these cultural norms that they've created. Because as you begin to even read in this book, you'll start to see how some of these garbage cultural norms have crept themselves in, and it's just nonsense. Like this dude, St. Augustine the Hippo. We're going to talk about this dude here. It was talking about his name was Hippo Regius, which is hilarious. His name was from Hippo. I thought that was just so funny. So we got Hungry Hippo over here. But anyway, he was the bishop of Hippo and one of the Latin fathers of the church, and perhaps the most significant Christian thinker after Paul. Now that right there is some straight disrespect, because Paul's the most misunderstood man that wrote in the Bible. And the fact that they call this poser significant is disgusting. And I'm gonna bring some pages from the book to show you, using his own words, and talking about how he created a theological system of great power and lasting influence. His numerous works, the most important of which are Confessions and City of God, and I'm actually going to be quoting from City of God, and they shape the practice of biblical exegesis. For those who don't know, exegesis simply means that they can explain the word. That's how you break down and explain the word. They call it exegeting. You may hear like your favorite Christian rappers that went to seminary school and got indoctrinated, think they know everything. They always want to talk about how they exegete and all this other stuff. They're literally just running around with the doctrines of man. I kind of made somebody upset a little earlier. Shout out to Judge Shar in the living room that's out there. I highly advise y'all to go check that out. It's every Monday at 6:00. It's a good conversation, like family talk, where we all just get in there and just talk about life and everything, the word life, everything. And I kind of made a brother a little upset because I challenged his notion of the being educated in the college. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. You're not educated by going to college. You're not taught critical thinking. You're not taught none of these things. Your brain is molded to follow a paradigm. And it becomes harder for you to think outside of that paradigm. And when people challenge that paradigm, you feel some type of way because they've given you that knowledge and you've formed a soul tie with it. That thing has literally become a part of your soul. That's some of the things that I'm going to start talking about more from now, but I had to give you a foundational understanding of the soul. That's why I made it free, because it's like this is an understanding that we need to have, because it affects everything that we do. It affects everything. And let me bring up my thing on Mr. Hippo here. I just brought it up. Wrong one. Let me bring it up on the other screen over here is the little, writings of Mr. Hippo. This is a little excerpt from the book, and where I talk about Augustine of Hippo. And it's going to say Augustine is noticeably clear in his admiration and exhortation of Platoism in his work, The City of God. In book 8 of this work, he has many chapters extolling Platonists. Now, Platonist is just the proper way of saying dudes that follow Plato. So don't, that it sounds weird. I thought it was weird when I was reading it. I'm like, really? This is what we call Plato. Plato do Platonists? That's kind of a strange thing. For their belief in the idea of the form of good. They believe that this form of good was the principle out of which every other form of knowledge spawned. That all objects of knowledge derive from this impersonal abstract idea of good. He makes his stance clear in The City of God, chapter 9, book 8. And this is a straight quote from his book in chapter 9 concerning the philosophy which has come nearest to the Christian faith. Now, that right there should be red flag on the plate. Hit the whistle, flag on the plate. Repeat first down. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Whatever philosophers, therefore, thought concerning the supreme God, that he is both the maker of all created things, the light by which things are known, and the good in reference to which things are to be done, that we have in him the first principle of nature, the truth of doctrine, and the happiness of life. Whether these philosophers may be more suitably called Platonists, whether they be given to some other name to their sect, whether we say that the only chief men of the Ionic school, such as Plato himself, and they who have well understood him, have thought thus, or whether we also include the Italic school or account of Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans and all who may have held like opinions, and lastly, whether also we include all who have been held wise men and philosophers among all nations who are discovered to have seen and taught this, be they Atlantics, Libyans, Egyptians, Indians, Persians, Chaldeans, Scythians, Gauls, Spaniards, or of other nations, we prefer these to all other philosophers and confess that they approach nearest to us. Now, it's not bold in here because I just took an excerpt from it. I just pasted the thing, but the book will have it bolded where I'm talking about there. I bolded that last part because basically Augustine was just saying that out of the well-known philosophers, all those people that he named that y'all probably never heard of before, these are all separate philosophies. Pythagoras wasn't just a math guy. Pythagoras was actually a cult leader, really. That's really what he was. Pythagoras led a cult. And all these dudes had different cults and different things that they had going on. And he's saying that out of all these philosophies, the ones that they like the most are the ones from Plato, the Platonics. And that's what he's saying. Going into the teachings of Plato, beyond the scope of what I wish to cover in the book, but we will touch on a few tenets and point out the inherent problem with Augustine's belief about Platoism. Plato did not believe that the form of good to be a sentient being. He likened it to a foundational force out of which all other forms of knowledge are derived and fed by. His analogy of the sun explains that the sun is the source of life on earth as the form of good, as the source of all forms of knowledge in the immaterial conceptual world. It was a concept, not an indication of a being that is omnipresent and benevolent with a will and emotions. So Augustine was saying that basically the Plato came out with this form of good. And this form of good is just like us worshiping Yah. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Now, I don't go over the deep belief systems of Plato. I give a very surface level observation into it. But when you go deeper into what Plato believed, even anybody who's a student of Plato, that's a hardcore Platoist, a modern Platoist, they will always say that is not true. He didn't say that the being was like, well, Yah is omnipotent. He is a being. He has a will. He has emotions. He is a living existence. And this form of good is just that. It's a form. It's an energy that he says feeds all the other positive energies in the world that form arguments and things like that. So to say that these two are the same is asinine. Is absolutely asinine, to say the least. Augustine opines on how Platoism parallels the true God, aka Yahuwah of the Bible, but this is not true. And any student of Plato would disagree with this assertion. Students of Greek philosophy have claimed that Christianity's concept of God derived from Plato, and it's due to many of the Christian church fathers quoting and adopting certain aspects of Platoism and appropriating certain parts of their systems of belief into Christian doctrine. This is not something I am averring with no corroborating evidence. Augustine himself said about it. So this ain't something that I'm just saying. You know, a lot of people that try to gaslight, they'll be like, oh, he's just saying that. Oh, that's not true. Or a lot of people that don't have any understanding, that they just follow Christianity and don't do real research. But because me coming at Christianity, it feels like a personal attack on them, they're just going to throw defense up without really doing research. So I quote the man himself in chapter 40 of that same book. This is a different book in his writing called Christian Doctrine. In book 2, chapter 40, this is what this man said. Whatever has been rightly said by the heathen, we must appropriate to our uses. This is straight from his book. I quoted it. You can get the book. You can follow the quote link, and you can see where I pulled it from, where they translated this man's work. This is his words. Moreover, if those who are called philosophers, and especially the Platonists, have said anything that is true and in harmony with our faith, we are not only to shrink from it, but to claim it for our own use. Have y'all heard this before? I'm going to get to the end and we'll talk about this. From those who have unlawful possession of it. For as the Egyptians had not only the idols and heavy burdens, which the people of Israel hated and fled from, but also vessels and ornaments of gold and silver and garments, which the same people, when going out of Egypt, appropriated to themselves, designing them for a better use, not doing this on their own authority, but by the command of God, the Egyptians themselves, in their ignorance, providing them with things which they themselves were not making a good use of. In the same way, all branches of heathen learning have not only false and superstitious fancies and heavy burdens and of unnecessary toil, which every one of us, when going out under the leadership of Christ from the fellowship of the heathen, ought to abhor and avoid. But they contain also liberal instruction, which is better adapted to the use of the truth, and some most excellent precepts of morality, and in some truths in regard even to the worship of the one God are found among them. This dude in a nutshell was saying that if the pagans have a good worship system that you like, bring it over to the Most High. Bring it over to Yah. It makes sense. We should take it like they took their Egyptian gold from back in the day. Now, mind you, he's just using this one specific example. Forget the fact that when Saul was told to take out them folks and he left the sheep and all that good stuff, or when Achan and his whole family got wiped out for taking the garments from the place the Most High told them not to take it, clearly the Most High don't want everything for everybody. Most of the stuff that they took that for themselves as payment for what they did. That is the proper context of what that was. That was payment. That was their reparations. They was owed that. If you read the book of Jasher and you read how the Egyptian captivity even occurred, they tricked our ancestors into working. They first had Egyptians working alongside of them, and then over the course of the year, they one by one took the Egyptians away, and then they stopped paying them. After all the Egyptians were taken away, they stopped paying the Hebrews, and then they started putting those same Egyptians back as taskmasters while they were getting paid, but we weren't getting paid. That was what they was owed. that was what they were owed. That wasn't like appropriating for worship. That was getting a paycheck. That's all that was. But the Most High, what does the Most High say about this? There's an inherent danger in taking pagan beliefs and attributing them to doctrine within the Bible. Using the writings of other nations to reinforce historical events and narratives is one thing, but to take pagan beliefs and adapt them as truths to worship the one God, as Augustine put it, is the opposite of what we're told in the Bible. Exodus 20:25. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, for if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Yahuwah was giving instructions to Moses on how to properly approach him for worship. He specified that they build the altar with rocks that humans had not modified, because if they had shaped the rocks, then they tainted it. If Yah did not want human modified rocks for an altar, why would he be okay with adopting pagan worship? Is he not the same yesterday, today, and forever? Then let's go a little further. Hebrews 13:8-9. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines. In the same breath, he said he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Letting you know, because he knew this time was going to come. The Most High, Yah, knew this was coming. So he was setting us up with the counters to the nonsense already. Be not carried away with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. What good has all that stuff gotten into the Platoists? What good has that gotten any of them? None of them. It hasn't gotten them nowhere. And I just really realized y'all can't see this thing right here is annoying me. Like let me share this whole screen here real quick. I apologize. I've been just sitting here going. Y'all been looking at Augustine's lovely mug this whole time, and it has not shared. I thought I told it to share the entire screen. So let's do it this way. There we go. Now the entire screen is shared. So you can see what I was reading from. I was reading from a little excerpt from the book here. I got the excerpt from all the stuff that I was reading. And in Hebrews, talks again, here again, we are warned about strange doctrines. I brought out all this information, which may not seem to have anything to do with the soul, but it's important that we understand where and how the fraudulent teachings originated. Remember, John Calvin's work, Psychopanacea, we reference, he quotes Augustine extensively in his explanations of the soul and his theory on its fate at death. This should not surprise us because Plato purported in Phaedo, a dialogue set during his teacher Socrates' last hours, that the soul was immortal. And in conclusion of his Socratic dialogue, The Republic, he talks about reincarnation of the immortal soul as he expounds on the myth of Earth. All of those things are stuff from Platoism. So that's just the stuff that I'm bringing reference to. Don't get lost in all of that kind of stuff, because the key point is once you read the book, you'll see that I quoted Calvin, because Calvin's one of the big, you got jokers calling themselves Calvinists. Like that, to me, when I first heard of this branch of Christianity, I thought it was insane. Even as a Christian, when I called and claimed Christianity, I'm like, bro, why would you say that you are a follower of a man? You're a Calvinist. Like, that makes no sense. What? We follow the Messiah, not Calvin. Like, what? And honestly, if you read some of Calvin's works, man, he's so arrogant and prideful and all his stuff. Like, he just be disparaging people and talking all kinds of noise, but he be loud and wrong and all the stuff that he's saying, which really makes sense is when you start looking at some of these, folks that come around from these so-called seminary learning and stuff like that. There's a lot of arrogance and pride from people that go into these seminaries because they puff you up with knowledge and make you think that you're smarter than everybody, but you're learning a man-made nonsense. So Calvin quotes this dude Augustine that I just read. All that nonsense that I just read, this dude Calvin read that and follows it. And they call Augustine a father of y'all all saw it when I put the thing on here, up here. He's called one of the Latin fathers of the church and perhaps the most significant Christian thinker after St. Paul. What? Like, nigga, what? What? That makes no sense. None of what this man said in those writings have anything to do with the Bible. And that's what the whole writing of this story not story, but really this book that I've basically examined what the Christian words are for the soul, the Christian beliefs are for the soul, and basically just put them against the Bible. And that's all I did. I just took the actual what the Bible said in the so-called Old Testament, and then I took it into what the actual Bible says and what they're saying, and it don't match up. And once you really get a good understanding of what the soul is and what the soul's role is in our body, it's not this mystical nonsense that they taught us. You think of the soul, you think of just some ethereal thing that's going around, but it's actually a lot more simple than that. It's a whole lot more simple than the nonsense that they tell you. They give you, as my sister Shari likes to say, she likes to say, they call it mystical mayonnaise. That's exactly what it is. It's just mystical mayonnaise. We out here looking for a burger with mustard and pickles and onions and all that good stuff, and all you get is a burger that got a big old fat glob of white nastiness stuck on it. That's what they be feeding us. It's nonsense. It don't make no sense, and it just cheapens the whole experience of the burger because you don't even taste the burger no more. All you tasting is this Miracle Whip nonsense that they done slapped on there. That's the essence of a lot of the things that they've taught us in the church. And a lot of it comes in these bad, terrible, just garbage translations that we get from the King James version. Like, you'll see as you go in through the book how I bring a lot of this stuff down. Like, it's the King James is, I still say it's one of the better versions to read because the ESV is trash, NIV is trash. Matter of fact, last time I checked, the NIV was owned by this lesbian woman, so do with that what you will. That's the reason why they started changing a lot of the wording around, homosexuality and its relevancy within the Bible, because, there was a homosexual woman that bought the translation. So, a lot of these modern translations, which all basically translate the King James, all suffer from this same thing. You can't read the Bible and just read it, and then say that you have understanding. You have to dig in. You have to do a word study. You have to understand the culture. You have to understand who's talking. Who are they talking to? What's going on? You can't just take one scripture and teach a TED talk. That's one thing my brother always talks about. Like, these new modern pastors, they'll take one scripture, Jesus wept, and give a 2-hour dissertation about it. And it's like, bro, what? You don't even go to the Bible. You just, oh, Jesus wept. What God is saying is that you should cry. I cry, you cry, we all cry together. Crying is good. Crying, like, now, mind you, some of these things they say are true, but it's like, bro, you're not coming from a scriptural basis. You're just saying what you think. You're just turning around and twisting it. You know what I'm saying? You're not making any sense. It's like, just like what Brother Tom Wilson said there. It's the spookification. It is the spookification of the word. They turn it spooky, because when you think of a soul as some spooky thing, when they say, oh, selling your soul to the devil is actually more practical than what they talk about. I would just give you the hint right now. When you say sell your soul to the devil, it's not like you're talking about your eternal damnation. Now, selling your soul to the devil will lead to eternal damnation because the things that you do are against the Messiah and God's law. But selling your soul simply means that you're working for the devil. That's all that means. That means you signed up on the dotted line that say that everything about me is the devil's. There was the one chick, Suki Hana. She, I think around 2021, she had made a video where she was like, y'all, I messed up. I sold my soul. I don't like this. I don't own myself. She just came clean. Then not too long after that, I guess somebody pulled her to the side and said, hey, you better act right. Look, you signed on the dotted line. And then she came back and doubled down on her nonsense. That's because when you sell yourself to these people, they own you. That's why Prince was running around with the little tattoo slave on his face, or not tattoo, but the little writing on his head, because he recognized that I don't own none of my stuff. These people own me. That's why after Michael Jackson died, they made all that money. Man, you remember when Michael Jackson died and they released all the everything, all that stuff? That money didn't go to the Michael Jackson people. That money was coming to Sony, who owned all that stuff. When Prince, he was fighting to get all his masters and stuff back and all that. I think that last time I remember on it, that somebody in his estate fumbled the bag and they ended up getting Prince's catalog and stuff back. Like, anytime an artist fights against the system, and I use music because that is the one that we all see and we all understand, but trust, it goes well beyond music. A lot of y'all that have gone into these colleges and stuff like that, you did these lifelong pacts with these different schools, you were with these different what do they call them, sororities, all this getting I like how Uncle Ruckus say it from the Boondocks. You done signed up for nigga and you done walked around with candy canes and stomping and did all this stuff, did your little walk through the clubs and everything and did all this stuff. They done puffed you up, got you feeling special, but you basically aligned yourself with demons. You've aligned yourself with nonsense. You've given your soul over to them, and you swear a lifelong pledge, not even realizing that you're selling yourself to demonic. Those things are witchcraft covens. There's so much witchcraft in our day-to-day stuff. I had to start by talking about the soul so you can understand the truth of it, because so many people there's been Hebrews that I know, that I have dealt with and have gone on some of their shows, and they will sit down in private and have told me, oh, movies ain't all that serious. I remember coming to one about a movie that was just garbage. I didn't like the fact that they had all the Hebrew folks, all the so-called black folks, that when it was two brothers fighting each other. It was that one Western movie that they made a long time ago. I forget the name of the movie. It was on Netflix. And everybody was hyping it up because it was a primarily all black cast. And it was about these two brothers beefing with each other. And they was just so aggressive and ruthless with each other. And then when it came to the white folks, aside from the one dude that was racist in the beginning, he was racist, so it was okay to be bad to him. Then they robbed the bank. When I tell you that was the most polite, they practically walked in and said, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, missus. We's gonna be taking this hell money real quick. So why don't y'all just sit here in this corner and look? We brought y'all biscuits. We brought y'all some butter biscuits and some pancakes, and y'all just sit over here and enjoy that. And us Negroes, we just gonna commit some crimes over here and steal your stuff. But we don't want to hurt you. We gonna teach you nices now. So we gonna do this." And they just shucked and jive on out of there with them folks' money. But then turned around and dealt with each other so harshly and crazy. It was insane. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the looks in that. And this person was like, "Oh, it's just a movie. It don't even mean nothing." Do you know that what you watch, and I prove this with science and scientific studies in the book, what you watch affects your soul. And this is scientifically proven. What you hear affects your soul. There's so many people throughout the years. Oh, music is just music. Oh, it's just entertainment. Oh, I don't do that kind of stuff, but it's just entertainment. Number one, why are you entertained by a man telling you that he sleeps with your girl? You know, how many rappers, I sleep with your girl. Oh, I miss to take your girl. I take your girl, this and this and that. Why are you okay with listening to a man basically treat you as a cuckold in a song, telling you how much better he is because of you, because of stupid things that was given to him by his masters, telling you that he's better than you and all this stuff, and then promoting killing of other men? I remember my dad was so upset when he heard the one song by C Murder. I mean, the nigga's name was C Murder, so there you go. And y'all know the song, "Forget the mother niggas, I'ma ride for my niggas. Forget the mother niggas, I ride for my niggas, I die for my niggas." Get them. I'm saying forget, but y'all know the actual term, the unclean version of that, how that went. And it bothered him because he's like, man, like, why? This is why we can't come together as men, because all I hear is forget the nigga, forget the nigga. He's like, how can we come together? My dad put me onto that years ago. And I started really like, yeah, that's true. Like, there's so many, some of the older folks may not understand it. Some of the younger folks may know who King Von is. King Von was essentially hip hop's first serial killer. I'll say Diddy is actually the first serial killer. He just got away with it. We don't acknowledge him for that, but that's a whole nother story. Those who know. But Vaughn was the most recent serial killer that everybody liked. This dude would get on a song, talk about how he was killing niggas, and he was talking about how he took this girl out. And the one in the song, the girl's dude came up and was catching the girl cheating, and he started acting, like a dude that's upset about his girl, and how this man killed the dude, got in with the girl left, and then went off and had sex with the girl and all this and that. And niggas was celebrating this, like, oh, this is great. Oh, Vaughn, great. Vaughn it is known that he killed multiple people. He was on Twitter laughing about it and bragging about it. And we be out here just going with it. And then we wonder why we can't relate to each other. We wonder why this garbage conversation about tethers and Africans being tethers and we FBA'd, why does this sit well with us? Because we already have a predisposition against ourselves, because this is what we have been fed. What white person song have you heard a white person talk about going and killing other white people? I'll wait. Yellow, what's his name? Yellow Wolf? I used to listen to Yellow Wolf. Yellow Wolf was a white rapper dude, he country dude. Yellow Wolf ain't talk about, he talked about a dude that came on his property, and then when he came on his property and was stealing chickens, how he took care of that dude, so that dude was stealing from him. But he ain't got songs talking about just riding on the dude just because he don't like him. He don't got songs talking about riding around killing folks just because he don't like him. Same thing with Eminem. Eminem talk crap, but he downed a lot of other fellow white folks, but he ain't never put no video or no song talking about, he just went around talking about something, I ride for my wiggers, I die for my wiggers, forget the mother wiggers. You ain't never heard no mess like that from Eminem. The one Christian rapper who I rock with, his name is Bizzle. And he got a verse where he says, I'm gonna kill a nigga, I'm gonna kill a Jew. One of the things is bad, one of these things is bad, the other of these things is cool. And then proceeded to talk about how rapping about killing your own people as a black man to get you a Grammy. And it's true. It's absolutely true. You can talk about killing. You can't talk. If somebody were to make a song talking about killing Jewish people, they would rightfully get messed up. How come we don't have that same energy for folks that come in our communities and talk about the same thing with us? We embrace it. We'll defend these fools. We defend them because we've got soul ties with this stuff. Because we talk about it as entertainment, because we are ignorant that our soul is shaped by what we hear, just like the word says. And it is scientifically proven that what you listen to makes changes within your body. All of these things I go over in the book and give you proof of studies that were done. I literally list out all the different things and the studies that were done. You can go look up the studies yourself. This isn't just something, Red is just saying it. He just making stuff up. Nah, bro. These are studies that are out there. But because most folks don't read, most folks don't go in and do that kind of stuff, they can have these things out there and nobody knows. We just continue to go along with ignorance and allow our souls to be controlled and manipulated by nonsense. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because we don't understand the key to what our soul really is. All of these things are affected by our whole environment. Even the people you hang around affects your soul. Again, scientifically proven. The people you hang around. That's why the Bible says bad company corrupts good manners. That's literally real. Who you hang around affects your soul. What you see affects your soul. That's the reason why the place that makes all the movies for the broadcasts that we see, a broadcast, meaning casting it across a broad spectrum, is all done from Hollywood. Let me show you something, actually. You know how I like to do. Hold on 1 second. Let me show you something. I'm going to do it through Google because even though I like Brave, they're the thing that they have, their searches, you get better searches from, let me see here. No, that's not the one. I think it's is it Ishtar? This is something that I actually it was Ishtar, not Isis. This was something I actually just found out. I never knew this was a thing. Never knew this was a thing. Let me see if I can find one where you could see the Hollywood Hills sign in the background. This is an arch. Yeah, here it is right here. Let me go open image in a new tab. Here, let me give y'all a quick, oh no, we don't want to go to X. We don't want to go to X. I'll give y'all a quick computer tip. If you ever want to open just the image itself, like I don't want to open the thing that go to X. I just want the image. So you can tell it to open the image in a new tab and then bam, you get your image opened just like that. And I'm going to zoom this in. So this is called the Ishtar Arch in Hollywood. When I tell you we are born in the land of witchcraft, it's a Christian country, but Christianity is born from the rebellion. When rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. This is a witchcraft-laden country. You see in the background, if you look at the hills there, the Hollywood Hills is shown right in the sign. The Hollywood is the most prized tree amongst witches because witches like Hollywood and they call it the most holy of trees and they make magic wands and use it for spells and different things like that. This is called the Ishtar Arch. And as you see, you got the Sumerian guy up there. You got Ishtar. You got the little priest, the dragon priest, because what people don't understand is the things that were called dragons actually had wings, and birds a lot of times are in a lot of other cultures are illusions for dragons. Like in China, they have what they call like a flaming rooster, which also is an analog for the phoenix. These are also birds that are like related to dragons. So you'll see a lot of, sometimes it sounds crazy, like the year of the rooster over there. Like a rooster, it's a rooster. That's what you mean, like foghorn leghorn. I say, boy, it's my year. It's my year, boy. Are you listening, boy? You don't listen here. Listen closer, boy. I say, boy, like that. You know, it ain't foghorn leghorn. They're talking about dragons. Same thing with phoenixes. Phoenix are dragon-like creatures. A lot of these bird-like creatures. You can see the wings, and you also see the crest on the top of its head. Birds have crests, as well as certain lizards have crests. The hoplites, this is, some little extra game I'm giving y'all. The hoplites from Rome, where they had the little brush on the top of their head, that was a crest like these different birds or dragons that they worship. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. That's a whole nother conversation that I'm going to get into deeper when I start making the more of the content. I'll let y'all know when I don't want to just, have folks coming in and, paying for something. And I got like 2 things in there. So I want to build up a decent library of a good, deep, in-depth study. And the reason why I'm going to put it behind a paywall and put it on, in my little area, my members area, is because YouTube is with the nonsense, and I want to talk like how I want to talk. You're not finna make me talking cold, and you're not finna make me talking indifferent than that, and I'm not finna play them games with you. You will not police my voice. I will not be policed. I will not be changed to conform to a system. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I encourage everybody to keep that mindset. If you're speaking the truth, I don't care who feelings are hurt. I'm gonna speak the truth. The Messiah himself said, I didn't come to bring togetherness. I came to bring a sword to separate husband from wife, mother from child, daughter. Like, the truth is a divisive thing. So if you're sitting out here trying to make friends, you ain't fit to do the sandals of the Most High, of the Messiah. You're not fit. You have to get to the point where it's like, look, I'm gonna talk to you in love, but you're not finna stop me from telling you what I'm gonna say. That don't mean be rude. That just means I'm gonna speak the truth, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I ain't gonna cut it down. I'm gonna call it is what it is. A spade is a spade. That's my little, public. That's my public announcement. But in this thing, you see in the middle here, this is called the tree, basically, like the groves that they had. In modern interpretations, this will be called a maypole. When you see the young girls at schools, they go. My mom stopped my sister from doing this stuff from way back in the day because she did a study and she figured. And look, my mom didn't play the radio. If anything came across and it bothered her spirit, she was going to research it and figure out what it was. And these maypoles come from this Ishtar worship. And we wonder why all these young girls out here is so caught up in witchcraft and nonsense and caught up in foolishness. This is why. These female deities. This is why this place is a misandrist's dream, because they bow down to these female Lilith gods. And this is right there in Hollywood, the place they make all your movies. The place they make all that entertainment. That's just entertainment. This is right there. They have, as you see at the bottom, they're setting up a crew to do a concert there. They have concerts there, all kinds of stuff. This is right there in America, in California. This is what we grew up in. And unless you get to the point where you're ready to say, I'm willing to toss all this trash out to follow the Most High willingly, you'll never walk into the fullness of the Most High. You'll never walk into the fullness of the Most High, because if you lean on and choose this nonsense, this garbage, this witchcraft that we have been given, because here's the hint that I'm going to tell you just off the rip. Witchcraft ain't always killing chickens, and it's not always killing chickens and putting period blood in spaghetti. That's witchcraft too. Now, don't get it twisted. Like, fellas, if you out here trying to play these little hyena chicks, that's another thing that we let do with men. She's good for the crew. Yeah, she's not worthy to be a wife, but single mothers are good for that type of. I reject that nonsense. If you are upset with the state of woman as a man, you should not add to the nonsense of a man. Because this woman is broken and you're like, well, I'm just going to use her to get what I want to get. That's foolishness, because now you're creating future problems for other people. There's kids that she's raising. She's already jacked up, but you're adding to the nonsense just to satisfy your flesh. You're worse than an infidel, bro. You're not cool. You're not clean. Ain't nothing good about that. Like that's that nonsense that we have to get out of our souls. Like, after writing this book, I have been rethinking all the different things that we think is normal. Like, you talking to a young dude, like, man, if it weren't for my mom and my dad teaching me the right way and keeping me, man, look, bro, I was infatuated with pimps. I saw from a young age that one HBO series, Pimps Up, Hoes Down, with the players ball, all that kind of stuff. My ex's family was shocked because I knew all the lingo of streetwalkers, because I'm a so-called quote-unquote square. How does square nigga know this? Because, nigga, I choose to follow the ways of Yah. I choose to follow the ways of Yah. I choose to be different, because it's easy to deceive these silly women these days. It's easy to just get a chick and just put her in the bedroom. That's no merit of you as a man. What's a merit of you as a man is to build for the future, to build a foundation that future young men can have an example so they can grow up and not be subject to the stuff like us that we have. This witchcraft that we see, because a part of that witchcraft that they've been grafted in our souls has been this nonsense that they teach us as men. Yo, you're not a man unless you out here. I'm just gonna say it. Oh, unless you out here getting coochie, you ain't a man. Oh, what's the first thing they say? Oh, you don't get no coochie. As if that's the barometer of a man. Like what man has been remembered for that? What statues have been erected? What man do we teach about in history solely for the fact that he got women? People gonna say Solomon, but Solomon wasn't written for that. And the reason why Solomon had all those women wasn't just his lust. Yeah, he had some lust in him, but it was also his pride, because those wives represented diplomatic relations. These countries would wed their wives to him for diplomatic relations. So it wasn't that he was just collecting women just to collect them. These jokers were trying to ingratiate themselves into his wealth. They were trying to get a cut of what he had. So they would bring their wives to them and say, yo, I got a wife for you. I watch these China, like I'm just going to tell you, China right now is killing the game when it comes to content. Like I can watch a Chinese show and see a man and a woman have a positive relationship, positive reviews of men where men are raising up their sons. They don't think about just themselves. They think about the future. Their whole goal is to get the future good. They're not just thinking about, they have selfish men like that, but those men usually get dealt with. But the ones that are always honored and the ones that are always shown in a positive light are the men that think about the future, that impart into the future, that take care of their family. And you see that in these Chinese shows. You don't see, what's the last time you seen an American show with a positive dad that didn't die? I'll wait. I'll wait. Anytime in America, a good man is a dead man. That's the message they put. What was that movie, The Quiet Place Part 2, where you had that one guy, the father, he was a great man. What did he do? He died for the woman. It's all the same thing. Mufasa died, dead. Great father, dead. Anytime you have good fathers, good parents, they dead. Disney is king of that. All the good dads be dead. Disney don't rarely ever have good dads. Like, you know, Geppetto was a horrible dad if you look at Pinocchio, because you just created this son and then you're gonna send this little nigga to school the next day. Like, bro, this man just came into existence and you're just gonna send him off to school? Like, what? And then you wonder why he got caught up on the island with the little boys that got turned into wolves and all that crazy goofy stuff that happened? Like, come on, man. We got to start analyzing the things that we were fed with the lens of Yah and not the lens of our flesh. Because when I say pimp, player, your flesh is like, yeah. No, a pimp is a user. You are taking the authority that the Most High gave you. The Most High said that women's will look to their men. As much as these chicks out here want to run their yap about, oh, I'm decentering men. If you were decentering men, why are you always online talking about it, sis? Why are you always online talking about dudes? If you so decentered from men, why are you always constantly online got to say something about men? If you decentering men. Because as much as they try to run, they can't fight what the Most High created. And these dudes will take that authority that was given and pervert that. Because that's what was fed to our soul. That was the appropriate way for a man to be. But this is a part of breaking the witchcraft. That is witchcraft. That's the thing that you got to break. See, that's that. They want us to only look at witchcraft as certain practices in Africa and all the things that they do, you know, even though most of the time when they have stuff, they say, oh, this is my ancestor. That's really like akin to them having a book. Shout out to Minister Yacoba talking about that and bringing that out. A lot of these so-called keepsakes for ancestors and honoring the ancestors isn't witchcraft. You know, when in China, they have rituals, or not rituals, but festivals where it's like a time where they remember their ancestors and they light incense in remembrance of their ancestors. It's not worship. Some of them worship. I ain't gonna say they don't do, but a lot of it is remembering what your ancestors did for you. What do we do over here? I'm not my ancestors. We not our ancestors. I'm not my grandma. It's clear you're not your grandfathers and your grandmas because they built Tulsa. What do you niggas build? Nothing. Get mad and argue with whomever, but it's the truth. During the height of Jim Crow, when we were on our own and not integrated, we had 14 black-owned banks. 14! During the time where they would hang jokers for nothing. We had 14 banks. Tulsa wasn't the only one. We had Okeechobee. We had what's now Lake Lanier. We had lots of different cities that were prosperous cities because we had family units. Men were men. But they took that away from us and made us identify. Again, what was the first movies that came out in the recent time? These blaxploitation films. Dolomite. Oh, man, I forget some of the names. I know, because I used to watch those movies, man. Harlem Nights was one. What's the one with your girl with when she pulled a shot? I can't remember. Cleopatra Jones, when she pulled a shotgun out of Afro. I ain't gonna lie, that was pretty dope. But all these different movies that, again, she what's her? Oh, man, I forget the lady name right now. That played in that. Again, all these movies, but they get naked. It's sex. It's nonsense. These are thugs and pimps and players and all this stuff like that. So yeah, they allowed them to beat up on white folks because they pushed the narrative that, to get back at the man, you be a pimp. To get back at the man, you be a hustler. You be a scammer. We call them scammers now. Hustler is the old word for scammer. The things that folks like. Why is it that a man that doesn't follow these trends is called a square? It's called lame. Why do we view that? Because of soul ties with foolishness. And that is what the foundation of this book is about, to show you what your soul is. And once you read it and you realize, oh crap, this is something way more simpler than I thought, then it makes more sense why they start feeding you things. You're going to start seeing things in your everyday life that they do, even down to the food that you eat. That's the big one. Because, food is kind of innocuous and people don't get it. But that's why they put crack in your food, a.k.a. sugar. Sugar is worse than crack. You're better off doing an 8-ball than getting some of this sugar. This processed sugar is insane. Like, you talk about chasing the dragon. Sugar is chasing the ultimate dragon right there. For the young folks who don't know, chasing the dragon is what they used to say when you when you do crack. Because, that first high will be so crazy, it fries your neurons, so you'll never get a high like that again. So you keep doing it, chasing that high. You're chasing the dragon. Pam Grier, thank you, Brother Ty. I gotta call him Brother Ty. That's out of respect for him. He really one of the wisest elders that we got in the community. Like, shout out to Elder Todd. That is my man. I need to give you a call, sir. You was in my spirit the other day, and I'm like, I gotta give my man a call because I love my conversations with wise elders. Wise elders. That's what they took away from us, because most of our elders was chasing the dragon. Most of our elders was caught up in player pimp knowledge and stuff, and they still got that same mindset to this day. That's why sometimes when you talk to some of these boomer elders, don't disparage them. Just understand where they come from. They can't get it because they literally lived a lifetime of witchcraft and programming. And it's hard to shake this stuff because it's literally in our bodies. It becomes a part of us. This is what the book is explaining. It's going to show you that this mess becomes a part of you, that flows in you. And this is why we have these same habits that we can't get. This is why the Most High said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you'll have all the word and knowledge, but then you go in and you're watching TV and getting programmed. You're getting witchcraft cast on you. All these TV programs. My mom at one point didn't even watch. We used to have like family movies and stuff. She kind of would watch sometimes, but then she'd get up like, I can't watch this, and get up and leave. I didn't get it at the time, but now I get it. Like, people be coming to me, oh, this is coming out. I'm like, man, I don't even want to watch it. I'm good. Like, even on some of the China stuff, I'll be like, so I'll try to find the most, nominal one that I can watch, but I can watch that because at least I'm not getting a show where every other character is LGBT, or as my man Brandon Jamal call them, ubiquita. I love that. They're ubiquita. It's like anytime you get a Hebrew man up there, he's ubiquita. It don't make no sense. So I said all that, I kind of went off on a little tangent, but all this stuff is connected. All this stuff is the witchcraft and the things that's connected. And I want, like I said, free ebook that's out now. You can go in. I got the link right here showing. As a matter of fact, let me, I will put a link in the chat. And then when the video's done, I'll actually pin it to the top comment in the video for those that are coming later. So I'm going to put that there. Let's see, I'll actually pin this message to the chat. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and pin that up there. And so, you can go in. It's a free ebook. It's not long. When I'm writing my books, I don't really, I don't feel the need. I'm gonna say what I gotta say and let it be done. I'm not gonna bloat. I'm not gonna add, all this extra stuff like that. So my books, I don't plan on making them long. And I say books and them, that means there's more coming. I'm already getting things together for another follow-up to this for Demystifying Spiritual Warfare. And the next thing I'm also going to do is we need to take back our culture. That's some of the reason why we get the spread of witchcraft and nonsense. We get other people feeding us their culture with their pagan nonsense, and we take this on. That's why you got so many of these young kids now, like we resonate with anime, because Japanese actually is really close to African. Like I think was Benin in Africa, but like some of the words in Benin are like the same. Actually, Benin used to be, before the great, rechanging that a lot of these Europeans did back in the day, used to be called Edo. In the capital of Japan is called Tokyo. But back before the Europeans came in and renamed Tokyo, it was called Edo. That's why you'll hear like they refer to their time periods based on the ruling governance. So you'll see like the Tokugawa period during the Edo period, when it was Tokyo was called Edo, and Benin was also called Edo. And some of the words in Benin are the same as the words in Japanese. This is why we have this familiarity with it. This is why you see so many Hebrew kids jumping up on it, because it resonates with their soul. The soul doesn't forget. The soul is passed down from the Father. We still retain some of these things. This is why we like it. We don't even realize why we like it, because it is something that is familiar to us. It's easier I found it easier to learn advanced parts of Japanese and even Chinese than it is in some parts of English. It's way easier because English makes no sense. I was just looking at something the other day talking about just the foolishness in English, where somebody was breaking down read and read, lead and led. It's a nightmare. It's a whole nightmare because the rules make no sense. There's this little this girl on Instagram I follow. She's hilarious. This Chinese girl, and she talks about how English makes no sense. And she'll say, this is what it means in Chinese, but what is it in English? And she just points out the foolishness of English. And I'm like, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. English is a quite retarded language. It don't make sense. How do you spell fish? Phish. How do you spell philosophy? Phi. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, man. So the reason why that we need to get our culture on lock, and one of the books I'm going to be writing will be a nonfiction book, because we need to claim back our culture. And I encourage anybody out there with ideas. If you got comic book ideas, if you got, not just, everybody just want to go do music and stuff. Write plays, write comics, write nonfiction book. I mean, fiction book. You can write nonfiction, but write some fiction books too. Add to the culture that integrates our biblical learning. You know how dope a story about David and the mighty men would be? You know how dope that would be? Just looking at all the different things that they went through. Like when you read, especially when you read Jasher, that gives you the full account of a lot of stuff, and you see what our ancestors was doing. It talked about not Yehuda. Yehuda was the dude that did a lot of the hollering, which is hilarious, because if you've ever seen Kung Fu Hustle, you know that the landlady that ran the whole tenement that they stayed in, she had a thing called the lion's roar, where she would suck in that cigarette and suck it down to the butt, and then she let out a scream that blew them jokers away. That's straight ripped from the Bible, bro. Ripped from Yehuda. Yehuda let out a scream so crazy, all the women in the city started miscarrying. Like, this dude was so crazy, he jumped up on a giant wall and started hollering at all the dudes on the wall. Like, it was just him and his brothers and his daddy out there taking out whole cities. They beat these cities down so much, bro. The blood from the city started hitting the rivers and going downstream, and all the people downstream was like, yo, what's happening? And then they come upstream and find whole cities laid to waste by our patriarchs. Like, I forget his name. It was, I wouldn't say it was Naphtali. They said Naphtali was so fast that when Joseph was getting his get back for his brothers, and he was like, nah, y'all can't go and leave with Benjamin. Yehuda's like, bro, I told my daddy on me that I wasn't gonna come back unless I had my son. He's like, yo, Naphtali, Do reconnaissance of the city and tell me what it is. This joker left and came back like that. This man was the Flash before the Flash. Barry Allen ain't got nothing on Naphtali. They said this man ran so fast he could run on the top of grains and not dispose them. Don't that sound like these Chinese wuxia films? Like anybody who's seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, what were they doing? They were running across the tops of trees, barely bothering the trees. They're telling our stories, y'all. It's time we gatekeep our culture. Straight up. And I'm sorry for those that have non-Hebrew, spouses and whatnot, but it's time that we don't need nobody else but us telling our unadulterated stories. That's where we're at. And I'm so serious about that because every time we want to do something, we get infiltrated with nonsense and they come in with the mystical mayonnaise. And then we got to come out with books that demystify the nonsense. We got to stop doing that. We got to keep our culture gatekept. Because you see what happens. Like, look at what happened with, like, those who in video gaming and even in anime. See what happened when they started letting Libiquita folks just run with things and add stuff. Now, everything gay. They getting mad at China because China make women that actually are attractive. Because over here in America, all they do is make ugly, manly-looking, women that look like, little trans men because they want to make trans men feel included. So they take all the women and make them ugly and make them just bad-looking to the point where you can't tell what's a man or a woman. This is a thing that they've been doing. Why you think they got all these chicks taking over all these shows and stuff with all this hard nonsense that don't even make sense? Because they're trying to rewrite the culture. Let's gatekeep our culture so that we can raise new souls. This is about the future. It's about us cutting off the nonsense that we were given, cutting off these soul ties and starting anew and giving it to the new generation the proper way. So with that said, I appreciate y'all, y'all coming through. I appreciate y'all going in. Like I said, it's free. Be on the lookout for more. I'm going to be posting more and more often. Crimson Lion Publishing. We got to unfortunately, I'm on TikTok. My goal is I'm looking after the future, as I'm Unc status now, what I'm saying? The brother 41 years old. And it's all about teaching young men, so they don't grow up and be simps like I was a simp. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I see a lot of well-meaning elders from the boomer generation, but unfortunately, we was raised to be simps. Like, look, how many of y'all was told happy wife, happy life? So the man don't matter? So the dude don't matter? You just got to be miserable, but as long as your woman is happy, and then happiness is an emotion. Like you'll die before you'll be able to fully make a woman happy. You'll never be able to make a woman happy if she don't find happiness. Happiness is found within yourself. And happiness don't necessarily mean you'll be in a situation that makes you happy. I'll be in situations I don't like all the time, but I'm happy because I'm focused on the things of Yah, and I'm focused on the right thing. My flesh don't like it. Parts of my soul don't like it, but my soul don't rule what I do because I rule myself from the renewed spirit that the Most High, the Messiah died for, that he gave his divine soul for. That's how I move. So that is my goal, to teach young men a different way. Because they out here telling young men, if you're not cool, you got to have Riz. That's the new thing. They say Riz, what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was, what was the word during the Soldier Boy era? It was, I can't remember the word they used to use back then. It was swag. You had to have swag. And if you was talking from the 90s era, you had to be cool. You had to be a player. You had to have that mold on you, all this nonsense, which is just other words for manipulation. Not every dude is manipulative. Why do we as Hebrew men have to be a monolith and all have to fit into this same garbage mindset? Why can't we be scholars? And why can't we just be regular dudes that just want to do good? Why we all gotta fit into this nonsense? And ladies, they all got a big hand on that too, but I ain't here for y'all today. I ain't gonna make y'all mad today. I'm just talking to I'm just dealing with the men because we are the head, and it's important that we understand the state of soul so that we can cultivate a future generation. That is our goal as men, is to make sure the next generation does better than us. My dad made sure. There was a time where I had lost my job and I was looking for stuff, and I heard that his job was actually paying pretty decent at the time. So I wanted to get on. He was like, nah, don't do that. He's like, nah, he discouraged me away from it. And I'm glad that he did because he wanted me to do better. He wanted me to go above and beyond him. And that's what we should want. Don't be jealous of your kids. You want your kids to do better. One of the things I would love to do is mentor somebody that's going to come up that think circles around how I think in this age. That's great. That what I didn't get at 41, they can get at 20 or 16. That's beautiful. when I was with my ex and I was watching old commercials with her son, and he was recognizing the nonsense in the commercials. When I was his age watching those commercials, I was caught up in the hype. I remember doing commercials and being like, oh, look at this snap. But now I look at them again and I'm like, man, this ain't nothing but manipulation and control. And he was able to recognize that manipulation and control. That's what made me proud, that I had him to that point where he could recognize the lies and the control. That's what we need to do. Raise them to be better than you. Raise them to do better so they can follow Yah from a younger age that you did, at a fullness, at a full heart, so we can cultivate a nation that is set up and submitted unto the will of the Most High. That is our goal. And as men, we have to cultivate that especially. So, with that, I appreciate y'all coming out. I appreciate y'all listening to a brother ramble. My authorific, my authoritative, whatever suffix you want to throw on it, my tantalizing authorific debut. I have chosen the path of being an author. That is the path I have chosen of teaching the ways of the Most High to the youth, man. So I appreciate y'all again. Y'all got the links and stuff out there. I'm going to put the link in for the people in the future, and be on the lookout. You're going to see from me more. I'm going to keep adding to this, and I'm going to build this platform up, and then I'm going to bring that out to y'all, and it's going to be something worthwhile, because I feel like if I'm going to be asking you to put money in on something, you can't just get something that's just garbage. And like I said, the main reason why I'm putting it behind the paywalls, because we got to get off of these other platforms. They be trying to control stuff. There's also that YouTube is getting to a point now where if you watch without, like, I use YouTube Premium because I hate the ads, and YouTube Premium is pretty good because I use the YouTube Music. So I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't have that problem. But a lot of y'all that watch YouTube without Premium, you notice that sometimes they got this AI thing now that if you look at, let's say you went around, you start looking at Gracie's Corner and you start looking at little kid stuff, they'll determine by the AI that you're a kid, and they'll ask you to verify yourself. So they're putting in, the internet is not as free as it used to be. The walls of it are closing in. So we have to start building these closed environments where we can come in free from nonsense and actually talk our talk and say what we got to say. Because some of the things I plan on covering will be more detailed stuff about the soul, more detailed stuff about witchcraft, more stuff like these stuff, everybody like when I talk about the Nephilim and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to definitely cover all those things there, and even talk about stuff like, where do white people come from? That's going to be another one that I'm going to get into, my theory. Because if you believe that people moved away from Africa and all over time became light-skinned, then you're no different than a person that believed that a little cell in the water decided one day I'm going to grow legs and walk on land. That's the same nonsense. It's evolution. It's stupid. It don't make no sense. And there's hints and clues that the Most High gave us in the Word, and there's even hints and clues through culture that you can find out some things. But that's all I'm gonna say about that, because, like I said, it's a controversial subject. I know some of y'all that may be your stepdaddy, your daddy, and all this stuff, and it's not, again, to say anything negative. I'm just looking at it from a pure anthropological standpoint. Like, how did this happen? I'm looking at it as a pure science, really looking at it like a science experiment. I'm not looking at it from nonsense, because, hey, there's a dude that I consider like my brother. I talked to that dude today, and he's whole Irish, but that's my guy. I got a brother, my blood brother that I was related to. I got an older brother that was a friend of the family. I call him my brother, and then I got him. I got 3 brothers. That's my brother. That's my guy. If I had, when I had the kid, hey, he was able to stay at his house overnight. I trust him like that. That's how much I know and roll with this dude. Like, that's my guy. So it ain't no racism or no nothing that's coming out of this. This is literally just pure understanding, because we've been fed so many lies. And that is my goal. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody coming out again. Go ahead and get the free book, Demystifying Spiritual Warfare. It's available at publishing.crimsonlion.com. For those who don't know, Crimson Lion, that's the brothers, the brothers' business that I got out. You see the logo in the corner now and all that kind of stuff. I've been cooking. I've been in the lab cooking. That's why I've been missing. I appreciate, again, shout out to my business mentor, shout her out. You know what I'm saying? She taught me a lot of things. Shout out to other folks that really just, and the elders in the community of the Hebrews and stuff that have shared their wisdom and stuff and shared their insights and whatnot. And now is the time for us to, I know we all looking forward to us being brought up out of here. But one of the things that actually, my mentor, she brought up, and then I saw another guy on Instagram like the following day say the same thing. That during the time when it was like the latter point of the Harlem Renaissance, it happened during the Great Depression. While other folks was going down, we were still coming up. The Deuteronomy 28 curses are done. I'm no longer taking part in these curses. These curses are no longer something that I agree with. It is a sign of something that we were under, but these curses are not upon us no more. So it's time for us to walk with the wisdom and the knowledge and to move and be productive instead of just sitting on our hands. It's time to be productive and have things ready, because it's just like the analogy that the Messiah gave of the servant. You had the one that buried his talent, and then you had the other ones who made the talent work. Don't be that servant that bury your talent and just wait for the master to come home to give him back what he already gave you. Put some work in on that talent. Not put that out for everybody. Everybody, because there's lots of us out here with books on other things, books on health and wellness. I would love to have a book that talk about healthy ways to resolve issues instead of having to go to pharmakia, witchcraft, every time I feel some type of way or I got some kind of ailment in my body. I would love that. Books that bring about whatever thing that you've been thinking about, whatever that's really in your heart. Bring that out, man. It don't require. I ain't been in nobody's seminary school. I ain't been in nobody's college. Like I said, I made somebody upset earlier because I talked about how college don't make educated people. I'd never been in nobody's college. None of that. The most I got was an associate's degree from a diploma mill place that was just trying to get my my student loan money. My IT knowledge is self-taught. I learned from the Bible from my mother, who was self-taught. She ain't go to nobody's school. She ain't even went to college. So when you see the way I break things down, this is a representation of what she did. I'm just taking it a little further. My foundation was given by her and what she taught me how to break things down. Again, never step foot in nobody's seminary, nobody's college. So don't let that nonsense try to hold you back. And if you went to college, cool. But don't let that be your pride to make you think that's your end all be all, because your knowledge comes from Yah, not from man. Anyway. With that being said, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate y'all for coming out here. And I will see y'all later on this week, actually, where we're going to talk about the church and what the word church comes from. Hey, shout out to Minister Taylor, baby. That's my favorite. Every time he say that, I be cracking up, man. That's where I get that from. The church. I love it. So y'all be blessed, man, and to see y'all again later.
Zion.
Hey, yo, Ren, turn that up.
Only a few of us gonna make it out. Zion, only you remnant, 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 only you remnant. When is my people gonna learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We Jacob, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remnant, 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 only you remnant. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We Jacob, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only a remnant. We at the end and we feeling it. We the sand of the sea, but a remnant. Shall return to the word when they hearing it. We the sons of Israel. Our word will never fail. Baptizing in Jacob's well. Holy Spirit ain't playing for